In this video, I will talk about how to enable the use of extraction operator for class objects to be able to read from standard input stream into the object. In other words, I will explain overloading extraction operator so that we will be able to extract data into your class objects using Cin object. That means extract the data from a standard stream, input stream, into an object of the class using extraction operator. Jumping into the code, this is the code I have. If you have not, this is the code that came out from the previous video on overloading insertion operator. So the video will be in the description. So if you are not watched that video, you can watch that. But I will quickly go ahead and explain this code. I have a student class with attribute number, student name, marks, and number of marks of the student, and default constructor and custom constructor to receive the student number, student name, and the marks array and the number of elements in the array. And the validation of this will validate the student number and the name and copy, and this will set to the default state, and this will validate the marks and then copy the marks data. So this is the custom constructor, and I had a print function which receives OSTream object and returns OSTream object and uses that received object to display the data, and it displays the student number, and then it validates the name and then displays the name. If it is not valid, it will display this text. It will also validate the marks. I mean, if number of marks is positive, then it will display the marks, otherwise it will just display not available. And if the object is not valid, it will actually display invalid object. And finally it will return voice. Alright, so this function can be used in this way. um, uh, s1 dot let's say print and cout. So it can be used like this, and also you can also insert the insertion of the new line character at the after this execution of this function. So I have if you want to know more about this, watch the previous video. Now focus here will be to enable the use of extraction operator to read the data. In this case, this is the insertion operator, which will allow you to use this insertion operation for the object in this way, in this form, or in this form, or in this form. But now what we want to do is we want to use in this different way to read the data s1 or CIN, sorry, read data for s2 object, and or you can also be able to read in the chain way s2 like this, right? We actually want to enable these operations. So for that we want to have a function that we can call, invoke, to read the data from the input stream, standard input stream, and copy that data into these attributes. So let me have that function called, let's say, read function, and I want this function to receive the object, input stream object, so that I can use that object to read the data is. And I cannot make this constant because this function will actually make changes to the attribute data, so you cannot make it constant like this. And let me return void here. Now what we actually want to do is we want this function to we want to ask the user to display enter the data in this format. Enter student data in format, let's say ID followed by comma, then name followed by comma, number of marks followed by comma, and then marks list, right? To make it more clear, we have let me put in a new line. The format will be like this: 101, name of the student, let's say 4 marks, 50.1 actual marks, 55.1, 60.1, 65.1. So these are the and finally comma. So we want the user to enter ID followed by comma without any space in between to simplify the logic. So name after that and comma and the number of marks, and then the marks for the first subject, second subject, third subject, and fourth subject, and finally comma. So and then you want to give the prompt after that. Prompt, and user will enter after this prompt. So if you want to read this data and copy into this these attributes, what I would do is I would create a temporary variables in the local variables in the function here. Number, name, marks, and number of marks, and we will read the user enter data into these variables, and after that if everything is okay, if all the data is read, for example the user may enter this number correctly and then this could be incorrect, or user may read this number and then number of marks may not be equal to this number, right? There could be problem reading, or if instead of number some characters are entered after that, there could be problem. So we want to make sure that all the data is read properly in this variables, and then if it's okay, then we actually copy this data from these variables into the attributes. So that is the way we want to do here. So what we want to do is first let me use this is object to read the number, right? Is number, and it will read, and if this is correctly read, then because sometimes the user may enter the characters instead of number, then in that case the data is not properly read. So if it is okay, then you can check that whether that read attempt is successful by calling this function through is.good, right? So if it is good, then you do further reading of the name, marks, and number of marks and marks. Otherwise you can display some text for the testing purpose. It could be student number, read error, something like this, right? And if it is read okay, then you actually need to because it will only read this number, and you want to start reading from this point, so you want to actually ignore this character. So the way of doing ignoring is you can call a function through this input system object and call, right? So this will ignore a single character, and in the more complicated situation where you have the space after this, then you may want to use ignore a little bit differently, but in this case, to simplify the things, I'm just not putting the spaces, everything just put tight. So therefore I'm ignoring only one character. Then after that I read the name starting from this point until the comma. So you cannot read the name using this syntax, because it will actually read the entire thing, start from this point to this point, everything will be read as a name. So you need to stop at this point. So for that purpose you can use another function called get, right? Get function ideally will read only one character, but you can make this function read number of characters until it comes this particular comma after that. So then so the way you actually call this function for that particular purpose is first you pass this array where you want to read, so name, and then maximum number of characters you want to read, let's say 255, and the point where you want to stop, that means you want to stop reading once one particular character is um, encountered. So in this case we want to stop reading when the next character to read is comma. So this syntax will ensure that this text is actually copied to name. So and after that uh, we don't want to read this way. So after that if that is name is properly read, and we want to check whether it is good, and if it is not read, then we can display a text student name read error. Then if there is no error, then we can go ahead and ignore another character, this character, because the get function will not extract this character from the stream. So you need to, there is another function getLine. If you use getLine function, then that will extract the character, but get doesn't do that. So ignore a character, and then after that you read the number. When you read the number, you can use this operator directly. You don't need to, you can use get and convert that text into the number, but it is convenient to use this operator. You want to read that in number of marks, and then after that I want to ignore this character. So again, if this is I want to make sure that it is read. Okay, so if is dot good, and then number of marks read error, in that case I actually ignore that comma, and then I actually if it is okay, then number of marks should have been should have been read. Okay, then I iterate for I equals to 0, I less than number marks, I plus plus, and I want to you could I think you have int, but I think I actually want to check whether this total number of marks read will be tracked by I, so whether that is equal to this number of marks. So maybe I want to define I here, so that I can use that afterwards. Define I and use it here, and now this I will carry number of marks when it exists, if all the entire loop is completed, and then you read this this data, because we have already ignored this comma. So you read this number into marks array with index I, and after that you actually want to ignore the comma. But when you are actually reading this number, there could be problem reading. So every time you read, you want to make sure that it is in good condition. So is dot good, if it is good, it will continue reading, and then if reading of all the numbers were good, and it will have I will reach up to number of marks and exit from this loop. Then you can use that the value of I to check whether all the numbers or the total marks read was equal to the number of marks, to validate, actually to make sure that the read data is valid. So ignore it, and finally at this point you also want to ignore new line character, because this is a comma, it will ignore one character. So at this point we want to ignore new line character, so that the character that goes into the stream when you hit enter will also be ignored. So is dot maybe, yeah, then put it like this, so it will ignore new line character. And now if everything goes okay, then it will exit this condition, this if condition, with data written into this variables. So at this point I want to actually make sure that this input stream is still good, so that there was no issue reading the data, and number of marks equals to I. If it is this expression evaluates to true, then we can be sure that these variables are carrying the correct data. So in that case we actually copy this data into the attributes. So s number would be equals to number, and copy s name to s name, and s equals to number strcpy, and you want to copy elements by element for int I equals to 0, I less than marks I plus plus, copy s marks I equals to marks I. Right, so it will actually copy the data into the class object attribute. Right, so I think this should serve the purpose of reading, and we just return it. It is a void return. So let me experiment, try whether this logic works or not. So what I'm going to do is maybe comment this out. We have I want to create a new object by invoking default constructor, say s3, s4, and s3 dot read. I'm going to call this function, and in the function I pass cin, and c after that s3 dot maybe use cout s3, like this. Right, so we are actually trying to test this function whether it works or not. So for that let me switch to the terminal and compile and link and execute. So it is asking me to enter the student data in this format. Let me enter in this format 101 Harry for the numbers marks 50.1, 55.1, 60.1, and 65.1, and comma, don't forget this. Now it was read and it was displayed correctly, so there was no issue with the code that I did. Okay, switching back to the terminal. So this command actually read the data, and this command displayed the data. What now this is read function, right? So what I actually want to do eventually is to read in this format. I mean to use this operator to read the data instead of this syntax. For that purpose, we need to implement the function like this. We need to overload extraction operator, and from inside the extraction operator we call this read function. This read function we just created. So so let me just copy this and make some changes to it. So if I want to read, I will be actually overloading insertion operator like this, and I will be passing iStream object and change the name to is, and also I will be returning iStream, right? So here through object I call read function and is, right? But there is one issue here, because read function is not constant. Just remember, here we don't have constant keyword, therefore it must be called through non-constant object. So we want to pass this student object as a non-constant inside, right? Now this read function doesn't returns void, so we cannot return directly. So if we want to enable this statement to be correct, then we want to make change. So we want to return whatever input stream object was received by this function by reference, and at the end you just write a statement to return is, right? So this will enable this read function to be used in this way here in this place. So with this I think we should be okay experimenting with um, this command for reading, right? So this command will automatically call this function, and this function will receive this first CIN will go to the first parameter, S3 will go to the second parameter. So we have CIN will go to IS and then ST second parameter, and through the second parameter we are calling this read function and passing CIN as a IS input stream object into it. So let me do run this code and see what we can see here. So compilation and linking and execution, it is again asking me to enter the data 101 Harry 4 50.1 55.1 60.1 and 65.1 comma, right? So it actually did read and it displayed the data. There is no problem here. So we are able to overload this operator. So now since we have this iStream object returned, so this allows us to chain this operation, right? Therefore we can read two objects together, S3 and S4, and we can display that both objects using one cout statement S4. Let us do experimentation with this. I expect that it will ask first S3 data for S3 object and then data for S4 object, and it will display both data in two separate lines. So switching to the terminal, compilation and linking, execution. So it is asking me to enter the data. Let me just maybe let me run it one more time. I want to clear the screen so that it goes up. Now execution, and 101 Harry 4 50.1 55.1 60.1 and 65.1 and comma. So now it is asking me to enter the data for another student, but I'm not entering the same data. It should be different. So ID would be 2002 and name Alexander, number of marks 3, the actual marks 65.2, 70.2 and 75.2 and comma. So now you can see the first object data was displayed in the first line and the second object data was displayed in the second line. which shows that this code is actually working. We are able to read the data into the objects, input stream data into the object using this operator, um, insertion operator, and we are able to display the data in the output stream using we are able to read the data using extraction operator, and we are able to display the data into the output stream by using the insertion operator, and using the objects directly into the insertion, this chaining of this insertion operations. So this is the end of this video. Next In the next video I will discuss insertion into the file stream. Instead of standard output stream, I will discuss insertion into the file stream, so that how you can write this object data into the file instead of displaying on the output stream. Thank you for watching.